Next, we're dealt 3 deuce of spades on the button. The hijack limps in. Remember, this is a 7-handed game. I've only got 6 opponents, and the hijack is the least experienced. My game plan is to isolate him in position as often as I can when I've got playable cards. I raise to 100. Although my cards are suited and connected, I admit that this is a bit too wide. The big blind calls, the hijack calls, we're going 3 ways to the flop in position. It's 8-6-5 with 2 spades. We flop a straight flush draw that no one will ever put us on if we hit it. The big blind leads for 175. This is a different opponent from the one who led into me 2 other times previously. The other guy's a 2-seat. This is the 1-seat who I beat in the full house hand that we just went over. I typically don't see leads into the pre-flop aggressor this many times in one session. It's interesting for me to travel and see what betting trends are pervasive in different areas. Leading certainly seems to be a common play at this game. The hijack folds. My hand is strong on the surface, but I could be in a lot of trouble if I'm up against a better spade draw. I call, hoping for the 4 of spades one time. In 5 years of making poker vlogs, I've never made a straight flush on camera. That's going to change. On the count of 3, get your mouse ready to click the like button for extra run good. 1, 2, 3. The turn is a 4. It's the 4 of hearts though. We still haven't hit a straight flush on the vlog. At some point that's going to change. I won't quit making poker vlogs until after that happens. The good news is that we've improved to the low end of the straight. We've gone from having no value to having a solid amount. The bad news is that the big blind bets 275. He's pretty much representing the straight with the 7. He's a smart guy and knows that this board will mostly favor his range over mine. I happen to have a hand that I usually never have, and I can't fold, especially with having the flush draw. I call, not being sure what to root for since there's some chance that I could still be up against a better flush draw. The river is the 6 of clubs, pairs the board, making it so there are even more hands that the big blind could have that are beating me, but he probably wouldn't have let it flop if he had 2 pair or a set at that time, and I don't know if he would have bet 2 pair or a set on the turn, so him having a full house seems unlikely. It doesn't stop him from firing a 3rd bullet. He bets 650. This is a gross spot. I was already wrong calling on the river once today. Despite having a straight, I really only have a bluff catcher in this situation. People just aren't triple barrel bluffing that often at any stakes. One more time, I can't fold. I call. The opponent triumphantly turns his cards over. He obviously has 9. Jack of spades. He flopped a better flush draw with 2 overs and a gutter to go with it, but he missed everything and tried to push me out of the pot. I actually like his hand to turn into a bluff since I can still have higher spades that I'll have to fold, and he at least blocks 9-7 of spades. We have him beat. I'm going to leave the sound on so you can hear what everyone says when they see what I've got. No one says a damn word as they try to replay what just happened and wrap their heads around me raising pre-flop with 3 deuce suited. It could have gotten me into a lot of trouble. I get very lucky that it works out. I win a large pot that results in me being within just $200 of the even mark after a rough start. In just the 7th hand that I'm dealt, I'm first to act with Queen Jack of hearts after Alan straddled to 400. I raise to 1,000. Mo's on the button and calls with King Queen offsuit. Magnus has Jack 8 suited in the small blind and also calls. Alan has me crushed with King Jack suited. He 3-bets to 5,000. It seems like a squeeze play. I could reasonably fold here, but I don't entirely trust that Alan has it. I call for 4,000 more. Mo doesn't love his cards. He folds. One half of the Magnuses can't justify a call. He folds. It's down to heads up. The flop comes ace-10-4 with 2 hearts, and Alan fires for 8,000. We flopped a flush draw and a gutter. We've got a monster hand. There's absolutely no chance that we're going anywhere. I need to figure out how I'd like to proceed though. If I call here, I'll have 32,000 behind, and the pot will be 28,000. I'll essentially have a pot-sized bet left in my stack. Maybe it's best to turn up the heat with a jam. Perhaps I can win what's already a large pot without even having to see the turn or river. In this exact scenario, Alan has king high and is a 55% favorite. If I can get a hand like that to fold, that's a pretty big positive for us. My brain starts thinking about how only half of this money in front of me is mine, and then I'm lighting Doug's money on fire if I rip it and run into any ace-x of hearts combo. I can't worry about that. I need to play the best that I can to ensure that I can get to the river with a massive draw or get the opponent to fold. If a play that I think is good in the moment doesn't work out, I'll have to live with it. I shove for over $40,000. There's no snap call. I'm immediately relieved. I put all my chips out there so that Alan can get an accurate count. If I knew what he had, I would have expected to fold right away. Alan is no dummy. He's been in the poker world for years and tends to have a keen sense of where he's at. Despite having almost nothing, he deserves some credit for taking his time to think about this one. He shoots a look my way to read my soul, and he does so successfully.
You look like a man with a heart draw.
I am, but I have a straight double.
Somehow Alan makes an incredible call for almost 33,000 more. with only a gut shot straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. Shockingly, he's ahead. When he calls out my hand like that, I feel completely defeated. The funny thing is that I could have played King Queen or King Jack of Hearts the same way and have him crushed or be free rolling. Yet he finds really one of the few situations in which he's called as the favorite.
Up to you.
Alan tables his hand, so I see for the first time how much he owns me with the call, regardless of the run out. It's an interesting situation in which if he was playing face up, I would have made the same shove and expected a fold. If I was playing face up, he would have made the same call. I'm having flashbacks to the first time that I played 100-200 on the Lodge live stream, and I got it all in on the third hand with a nut flush draw against bottom set in a $60,000 pot, which was up until now the largest pot that I've ever played. I bricked both runouts, lost, and got stacked. This pot is now over $93,000. It's unbelievable to me that I'm in a similar situation again, but for way more money, and also that I got called correctly by my opponent's king high. To make things worse, the best chess player in the world is openly rooting against me.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Please backdoor clubs. Make it happen.
Let's go.
One time.
Let's go twice.
We're running it twice for a pot that's nearly twice the amount of my annual salary that I was getting at my job as an accountant just a few years ago. 4 pieces of plastic are about to determine whether or not I'll have almost 6 figures in front of me, or I'll have to add on. My heart is pounding in my chest. I can barely watch the run out. As I turn to grab a sip of my drink, we get some good news.
One's good.
The turn is the 3 of hearts, giving us the victory on the first board and locking up about $47,000 for us since King Jack of clubs is drawing dead there. An enormous sense of relief comes over me. I can breathe again. Unfortunately, we burn one of our outs for the second board as the 5 of hearts comes on the river.
Oh, that's a lot of hearts.
It's time for run out number 2. If we can spike a king or a heart, I'll be up way more money than I've ever been in any poker session that I've ever played. The second turn is the 6 of spades, no help. Still, I have a 25% chance of scooping the biggest pot of my life. Unfortunately, the river is the 9 of clubs. Alan wins that board with just king high. I can't help but think that if I only called the 8,000 on the flop, then made the flush on the turn, I would have won way more money. Instead, I pulled the trigger with a semi-bluff shove, got called, and only made $1,100 the hard way, while almost having a panic attack. Almost 7 hours into the session, we're dealt Jack 6 suited in the under the gun straddle. 5 players have limped in, I check, we're going 6 ways to the flop, it's 5-3 deuce with 2 spades, we have a flush draw with a gutter and 1 over. It checks to us, I check, the middle position player checks, the cutoff bet's 30. The button calls, the small blind and big blind fold, calling and check raising are both on the table. I call because I doubt my check raises will get much credit after losing a big pot, and since this is a limped pot with a ton of players, it's very possible that someone has something strong, like a straight or a set on a low board like this one. The middle position player folds, the turn is the jack of clubs giving us top pair. I'm glad that we've improved, but I really wanted to hit a straight or a flush. I'm still not sure if we're best. I check, we get some great news as the other 2 players quickly check behind us. They wouldn't do that if they had 2 pair or better because they wouldn't want us to see a free card. With this new information, top pair is looking pretty good. The river is the 3 of clubs pairing the board. It's tough to envision that either player has trip 3s or better. We're likely best, and we're going for the home run. I make a pot size bet of 150. The reason I went with the large sizing is partly for the same reason that I didn't want to check raise the flop. It probably appears like I'm tilting, and my bets aren't going to get as much respect with my current image. When I make a strong or even medium strength hand like in this instance, I'm going to bet larger than normal for value in order to punish non-believing opponents. The cutoff folds. The button is very suspicious that I'm tilting off extra dollars. In some cases, he'll be right. If the turn was a 10 of clubs and we bricked our draws without making a pair, I may have bet the same amount. The button could have a pocket pair like 7s or 6s, maybe he just has a 5. Either way, he's too curious to let me take it down without a fight. He calls, we show him what we took him to Thin Value Town with.
Yeah, that's good too. I figured it was Jack 4 or something. That's it.
Good bet. That was a good bet, yeah.
Great bet.
I thought he had a 3.
Just a few minutes in, we've got 10-9 suited under the gun +1. I raised to 15. The middle position player, the cutoff, and big blind all call. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It comes ace-7-4 rainbow. We've got a lot of nothing except some backdoor draws. We all check. I've been honing in my psychic abilities. I think to myself that the 8 of hearts would be a very cool card to see. Then it appears, making it so a lot of rivers should give us the winner. The big blind checks. We're going to semi-bluff this one. I bet 35. No one's willing to fold, all 3 opponents call. This is making me concerned that our flush draw may not be good if we get there. The dealer puts out the jack of hearts, giving us the flush and the straight for fun. The big blind checks. Despite being worried that the 10 high flush might not be the best hand, I bet 115. If we get raised after betting into 3 opponents on the turn and the river, I'll reluctantly fold. I wouldn't mind getting called in one spot. The opponents all fold though. We go runner to make a big hand and win a pot right off the bat. We're off to a good start.